The Power of Us. Powerful stories, important life lessons. We have exciting, exclusive on-camera interviews with AdSales Corporate Communications Coordinator and Walt Disney's very own Kristen T. Smith. DC-based web content manager and multimedia producer Calvin Michaels. Collegiate NABJ and Associated Press Award winner Kim Maria Wilson. Creator and founder of the University of Tennessee College of Law Black Alumni Association and University of Tennessee Juris Doctorate graduate Ryan J. McElhose. Human Resources Manager, Strategist, and Management Trainer Chantel M. Wilson. Howard Law graduate and New York City-based lawyer at Ropes and Gray, Patrick Smith. And Georgia Tech graduate, Harvard admitted, and Google product manager, Alexandra Foote. Brought to you by your podcast host, Karis K. Wilson. All available on the official Karis K. Wilson YouTube channel.
Hello.
Hello, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing well. I was gonna say, I don't feel like I've officially met you, but I know from like a distance, I've always just been in awe. I'm like, oh my gosh, I get to interview her today.
Oh my gosh, that's so sweet.
Well, I'm really excited to be able to interview you today and just get kind of like an inside look at your experience and just kind of how you navigated the process, you know?
My name's Kristen. I graduated from the University of Kentucky in 2018 with my bachelor's in integrated strategic communications. While I was there, my concentration was on public relations. So I had a couple different internships. My first official internship was with the University of Kentucky Athletics Department. I served as a PR and communications intern for 2 years, working primarily with the football team. And I also was the director of PR for the Student Activities Board, which was the organization that put together like all the major events on campus. So all the concerts, homecoming, we did homecoming. So any major programming that was going on campus that came through our office. And then after undergrad, I went to Florida State University for grad school, where I earned my master's in sport management. So I was there for 2 years in Tallahassee, graduated in 2020, and now I am a working woman.
Oh, that's where you want to be, right? That's the goal. All the education, that is the goal. So we'll kind of double back and talk about kind of your experience and how you navigated actually applying for undergrad, if you can kind of remember. I know it's been a little while, and then also applying for graduate school. But can you just start by saying, okay, so how did you decide on the University of Kentucky? What did that process look like for you?
So my process was just like very unconventional. To be honest, I did not want to go to UK. Like I was totally against it. I wanted to go to an HBCU. I have a lot of family in Nashville. A lot of my family graduated from Tennessee State University. So that was always my goal. I was like, I'm going to TSU. I had jackets, like I had paraphernalia.
You were ready.
I was ready. I was ready to live my life in Nashville and be a homecoming queen and just do the whole HBCU thing. But then reality hits and money's a factor, right? College isn't free. And like, I knew this in the back of my mind, but like, junior, senior year was like, oh, like college really isn't free. So I either need to depend on my athletic ability. I ran track for most of my life up until high school. So I was like, I either need to rely on my athletic ability or my brain, my wits, my smarts to get to college. So yeah, I was applying for all these different schools. I applied for TSU and was like going through the process, making sure I had the scores for their scholarships and that I could get the best one. And then like my family was just like, you need to apply, because I'm from Louisville, Kentucky. Okay. So my family was like, you need to apply for some in-state colleges just in case, like just as backup. Okay. So I reluctantly applied for the University of Kentucky, and it came with a whole bunch of money. And so, and it came very early. It came like October of my senior year of high school. Mm-hmm. So at that point, I was still waiting to hear from TSU. I was still trying to figure out, like, are they going to give me the amount of money that I want? Is it going to work out? Where UK was just like, girl, here are all the things. Be with us. And I was just like, ah.
Yeah.
And so my family was just like, okay, so you can either go to UK and, not have to stress about anything financially. You don't have to work. You could work if you wanted to, but like you wouldn't have to.
Hmm.
Or you can go to TSU and try to make ends meet. So that's how I came to my decision of UK.
Okay.
It was a lifelong dream of mine to be a wildcat, or I had like some family history because my parents actually went to the University of Louisville. So it was just like UK was just very random. But it was the best decision I've ever made.
COVID-19 has changed our world and transformed the way we learn, regardless of our age or educational level. Now more than ever, we have access to online education and content. That's why you'll want to partner with me, voiceover artist Kim Wilson, for your business training modules, academic institutional e-learning programs, or your at-home e-learning online educational needs. I have a wide-ranging voice which is natural, warm, and soothing, but also rich and commanding. I've had the privilege of working with over 30 companies, including Children Inc., Learning Grove, the Salvation Army, the American Bible Society, Service Employees International Union, SEIU, V Living, the Minority Business Development Agency, and Cox Automotive, just to name a few. If you have an educationally based project, whether it's voicing online work modules, educational training software, large live events, or educational seminars requiring voiceover, I am here to help meet your specific needs. Whether you represent a nonprofit or a for-profit organization, whether you're in K through 12 or college, undergraduate or graduate studies, I am the perfect fit for your voiceover needs. If you are an individual or a business seeking to hire for one project or multiple projects, feel free to give me a call at 404-981-1748 or send a business inquiry to kimwilsonthevoice@outlook.com. Again, that's 404-981-1748 or kimwilsonthevoice@outlook.com.
Okay, so 2 follow-up questions to what you just shared. So how many schools total did you apply for then?
Girl, let me think that. I don't want to date myself. It wasn't that many. Let's see, TSU, UK, U of L. I'm sure there was another HBCU in there. So I'll say 5.
Okay.
It's a safe number.
Okay. And is there any other reason in particular that you wanted to go to an HBCU besides the reasons you've already shared? I know you said you had family kind of history there, but is there anything else that you felt like was an advantage going to an HBCU versus, a PWI, predominantly white institution?
Yeah, I wanted to be around my people. I really did. Like, I wanted to have that because I grew up in schools that were pretty mixed, mostly white. And I was just like, I want to be around people like me, that look like me, that not necessarily think like me, but come from similar experiences, similar backgrounds, and we're just navigating the world. That was really, really important to me. Luckily, when I got to UK, I was able to find that tribe. I was able to find those like-minded people, those people who had similar backgrounds, and we stuck together. But I definitely wanted to go to HBCU for that experience.
Sure. No, that makes total sense.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you think back to undergrad particularly, and how, you have this kind of perception of how individuals are performing around you, I think. I don't know. Let me know if you agree with that. What would you say was the biggest misconception you had about how those were performing around you in relation to kind of like your performance compared to theirs? Or did you do that? Or kind of what did that look like for you?
I don't think I did it in the moment, but
Okay.
looking back, me and my friends talk about it all the time. College is such a utopia. It's like nothing like the real world. You're surrounded by all these people who, we're young, we're carefree, we're here to go to school, we love school, like we chose to be here and we're making the best of this experience. And everyone, you can decide what you want to be in college. And there's no like real basis on it. I mean, yes, you're studying these things, but you can't predict your trajectory after you graduate. But when you're in college, you literally can be whatever you want to be. If you want to be an artist, you're an artist. Put some stuff up, put some stuff out, have some friends come together, form an org, have an event. Like you can do whatever you want to do. And I think like being in it, you don't realize that that's not that it's not reality, but once you graduate, life is very different, like, because not that you're solely dependent on others' opinions of you and other people dictating your trajectory. But there are other factors that you have to consider as you try to become whoever you're supposed to be. Whereas in college, you really can be whatever you want to
Okay.
be.
What would you say then if someone's like, well, why go to college? You go to college, you major in something that you're not even going to be working in, because it kind of sounds like that's what you're saying a little bit. And correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like you're saying you go in, you have an idea or maybe not, and then you have to kind of, life is complete. It's something else out there. So what are your kind of thoughts on that?
And I'm sure we'll dive into this a little bit deeper, but I don't think college equates success. I think college, especially in today's age, like there are so many avenues to be successful, however you define success, whether that's monetary, whether that's notoriety, whether that's accomplishing personal goals. I don't think you necessarily need college for that, but I do think college is important for your personal development. Like the things that you learn from just being on your own, but still in a controlled environment are very important. And like the relationships you form and just figuring out life as a young adult, but still having the luxury to make some mistakes because you are in a controlled environment. I think college is very, very, very important for that personal development, professional development, creating those soft skills. I think college is great for, but have I used everything that I learned from sitting in a class? No. Actually, I don't think I've used any of it. Most of my experience, most of my training for my jobs has been on the job. Like I've had to learn from experience. Experience has been the best teacher for me. And while college was very beneficial, I think it gave me some foundation because I've been fortunate enough to stay in the industry that I set out to be in. But there's nothing that you can learn from sitting in a classroom that's more beneficial than actually experiencing it. And that's just what I think.
Sure. So just to clarify and play devil's advocate, so why go? Why can't I just, teach myself and kind of expose myself to certain things maybe that you might get at a large university and then maybe try to apply for these jobs? A lot of jobs are, kind of flirting with the idea of not having a degree in one particular area, but having a miserable experience. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, like I said, I think college is, it's important for those soft skills. Like I know me personally, and this is probably varies from person to person, but I know me personally, I would not have been ready to go into the real world as a senior in high school. I would not have been ready to manage bills. I would not have been ready to pay rent on time and make sure that I'm feeding myself. Like I would not have been ready for any of that if I didn't have that introductory experience in college, where rent was only $600 and it is not that in the real world, but you have that time to get acclimated. Like I said, you develop those soft skills. You learn how you interact with people. You learn what type of people you like to interact with and what type of person that you're becoming and the things that you like. I think college exposes you to so many different people. Like me, even just being from Kentucky, I met so many people at the University of Kentucky that were so different than the people I knew at home because I didn't explore the state of Kentucky,
Right.
So just being able to open your eyes to a world outside of yourself, because working is, it's also another incubator in a sense where you're so tunnel vision when you're working. I think college gives you that time to explore. And I think that's important as you matriculate through adulthood.
So, and share what you want to share about this. Before we move on to the next question, student loans, paying for college. You mentioned that Kentucky gave you an offer in a way that you almost couldn't turn down. It was really good. What are your thoughts on student loans, kind of how you would approach the process, how you might even, if in the future you have children and you have to advise them on kind of, these are the stipulations, these are the guidelines in which I would, direct you. What are your thoughts on student loans and what you would or wouldn't take out and how you would go about that process?
Yeah. So when I went to grad school, I did have to take a few loans out. And like, that was totally new for me. I was just like, what is this? Like, I was nervous about it. But in the long run,
So undergrad was completely paid for.
Undergrad was paid for. Undergrad, I got paid to go to school.
Okay. Okay.
Grad school, I did have to take out a few loans, but I think it was worth it. Of course, I'll be paying those back, but I don't know. I think it's case by case. If you're good with your money and with paying things back, I think you can take out loans. I would never advise someone to take out loans if they don't have to. Like if there's a way that you can escape them completely, do that. Because it's a bill. It's a bill that is around for a very long time. So if you're able to escape that and just like live your life debt free, do that.
Yeah.
But if you do find yourself in a situation where you have to take out a few loans, like don't let that deter you from your goals.
Sure.
Like I have a lot of friends who are on the medical route. If you're going to be a doctor, you're going to take out loans.
Yeah.
Like that's just what it is. And you can't escape it. But I don't think someone should be like, well, I don't think I want to be a doctor.
Right.
Just because of the student loans. Like don't let that scare you from what you want to do long term.
Sure. And for Kentucky, how did you manage to get all of your scholarships? I'm sure people would want to know, like, how did she how did she do that?
My senior year of high school, I literally applied for scholarships every day. A large portion of the money that I received came from the University of Kentucky and just going through their application process, which was like when you applied for the university, you also applied for the scholarship. So that was really good. But I applied for extra scholarships all the time. I was in extracurricular groups in high school. One of them was called Black Achievers, which was just like for young Black high schoolers, teens, middle school, whatever. You do professional development. And then when you're a senior, like a part of it is you get some scholarship money because you've gone through this process. So yeah, I did that, but I literally applied for every little scholarship. Like there's one for being left-handed. I didn't get it because it only like works in certain schools. But like little things like I literally applied for scholarships every single day. Like I would go to school, go to track practice, come home, do my homework. And then after my homework, I would sit on the computer for like an hour and just apply for scholarships.
Okay, so it sounds like discipline was important with all of this too, being structured.
Absolutely. Like I said, I knew in my mind, my family couldn't pay for me to go to school. So if that was something that I wanted to do, I had to make it happen, and I'm just like, I can't pay for myself to go to school. So what did I have to do? Find avenues, find opportunities for me to accumulate the funds that I needed to go to school.
Sure. No, that makes total sense.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I was just thinking that's a whole nother interview, I guess, on the application process and stuff.
Oh my God.
And how to get scholarships. But to kind of move us forward, so what is something what's something you wish people maybe kept to themselves or didn't share about their college experience that you think can kind of change or alter one's experience and kind of, I don't want to say ruin the experience for someone, because I don't think it's based off of one person's statement, but yeah, what are your thoughts on that?
I was thinking about this question. I think times are changing, right? Which means jobs are changing, industries are changing. And I think so many people of generations prior to ours are very fixated on those traditional jobs, like lawyer, doctor, teacher, engineer. And those are great professions. And some people are just cut out for them. They're great at them, they excel at them, but other people are not. And luckily, universities are giving students the opportunity to explore different avenues. I know even in the ISC major at Kentucky, like that was fairly new when I got to school. I was looking to just be a regular communications major, and I was like reading the description, and it was something about like languages and talking to people, and I was like, wait, that's not what I want to do. And then someone was telling me, they're like, oh, we have ISC, which is like PR and digital and marketing and the combination of all of those things. I'm like, that sounds really cool. So I think like with parents and grandparents and family and all those outside opinions of just like things that you should study in school, while they're appreciated, I don't think that they're always super beneficial because of the times. There's a difference in how we work versus how they worked, and there are so many different ways that you can take your professional journey that they just don't know about. So I would say take it upon yourself to explore what your options are.
That makes total sense. Yeah. Research and just kind of putting in the time to really see what's out there, and also taking maybe the advice as well, but kind of like you said, doing your own homework. So what was one of your toughest moments in college that you kind of felt you had to manage through, and how did you do that?
So for me, it was the beginning of every semester, every single one. The beginning stressed me out so much. And it was like, why is this stressing me out? I just did it a few months ago. But the beginning of every semester, because I'm terrible with change, it freaks me out. I'm just like, I like how things were. I'm in my groove. I had my color coded notebooks and binders and things. Like it was all planned out. And now I have to totally switch it up. So in those moments of change, I talked to my mom a lot. She was like my personal little therapist when I was in college. I'm like, I'm so stressed. But yeah, I would stay in touch with family. And I had a good group of friends in college who were also very on it. So we would just like work together to make sure that the other person was accountable for what was going on. Like, do you have everything you need for your classes? Are you set up? Are you organized? You have all of your syllabus planned out. So just, my core group, my support system, and then just being very organized, that helped me manage that anxiety that came at the beginning of the semester.
Okay. So it sounds like you would tell students, especially maybe those who might be like first gen, or, there's a lot of different, there's a lot of people come from a lot of different experiences, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And yeah, I think that can be scary. And I agree with you that, yeah, it seems like no matter how long you're in school, because, I've been in there a while, or like, it's just always that first like chunk, that first almost month sometimes that's
Yeah.
really, really hard. So yeah, I definitely understand what you mean by that. Okay. So when we're talking about kind of health, physically, working out, mental health, all of that, how I know you were kind of I knew your background with being as far as being associated with athletics at Kentucky. I didn't know the track part. So you definitely seem like you potentially came in with a kind of regimen in a way that you kind of knew to take care of yourself and your body. But how did that look, especially kind of in the late millennials, Gen Z time? How did you manage and make sure you took care of your physical health, your mental health, and all of that?
Yeah, so I did come from an athletic background. Like I said, I had been used to running track and having structured practices and workouts for years. So coming to college, it was actually an adjustment for me because there wasn't that structure. There wasn't someone telling me go run this amount or go lift this amount at this time. So in my very first semester of college I was all over the place. Actually, my freshman year, I was
Yeah.
not as disciplined as I needed to be. But then like, as I started to, get in the groove with the school part, I was able to make sure that I accommodated that health part. I've always been kind of a healthy eater, like even freshman year living in the dorm, I cooked a lot. Just because I didn't like to pick up fast food and all of that. So that contributed to it. But I definitely started like my sophomore year, made sure that I made time for the gym. I'm not a morning girl. I'm not going to get up early to go work out. That's just not me.
Okay.
So I would carve out time after classes, after work, to make sure I was at the gym. I tried to make sure I lived close to the gym, or when I moved off campus, that my apartment had a gym. So there wasn't the excuse of like, oh, I don't feel like going. Like, no, it's literally like a block away, just go. Or it's literally downstairs, just go.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just made sure to prioritize that time. And then cooking it saved me a lot of money. It
Yeah.
saved me a lot of carbs. Like
Yeah.
that was a big part of it too.
Okay. And then did you, forgive me if you touched on mental health, but how did you kind of say you managed that mental health part of it? I know you say you talked to your mother, about
Yeah,
the
that
mental
was
health
a
loss.
big part for me. I really wish I had tapped into the campus resources more than I did. I've recently started talking to a therapist, and like it's helped me so much just having that outlet and being able to get someone's insight from that's not necessarily a part of my life.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and those resources are available on campus. And I don't think college students know to just like take advantage of that. Like,
Yeah.
it's free. There's someone there. Use it. So yeah, I wish I had focused more on the mental health part than I did. I think working out was an outlet for me. Like I said, I talked to my mom all the time. She was my therapist, like in between classes while I was just chilling in my room. Like she was my go-to. But I definitely wish I had relied more on the on-campus resources.
So being that you are in the kind of sports communication PR industry area, and like I said, feel free to correct me where I'm wrong. What would you say has changed most in the last 4 years since you left undergrad? Because you mentioned, like you said, things change, and even more so,
Mhm.
they change really quick now. So yeah, what would you say about that?
So communications is always evolving because the way people are getting their information is always evolving, right? So
Mhm.
when I first started as an intern with UK athletics, we were focused on like what we were writing. We were putting out press releases, we were putting out articles, we were, making sure that these documents were written out. People don't really care about that anymore.
Okay.
People are on social media. They consume their news on social media. They get information from social media. So things have shifted to where we need to get them information in quick, snackable bites, like
Yeah.
a quick graphic or a quick video or something that will get someone's attention, give them the information they need and quickly.
Right.
So I've kind of shifted in my current job. I'm not necessarily with college athletics. I still work with sports, but it's in more of a corporate role. And a lot of my job is finding creative ways to get information out about. So I work at the Walt Disney Company in a corporate communications role, working primarily with our sports properties. So we work
Okay.
with college football, we work with the NHL, we have
Hmm.
NBA, MLB. So just making sure that people know about what's going on with our leagues, but outside of a press release, because like I said, people, even writers, they're not reading all that. You
Hmm.
have to make sure you capture their attention in the quickest way, the most creative way. So that's something that I'm working on now. But yeah, it's definitely changed in just the amount of time that I've been in the industry, and I imagine that it's only going to keep evolving.
And can you talk about, because before you were at Walt Disney, you're currently at Walt Disney now. You said
Mhm.
in a corporate communications role. Um, but before you, right after you graduated from Florida State, you went to Memphis. Is that
Yes,
right?
I was
Okay.
at the University of Memphis.
Okay.
So, background on that, I graduated from Florida State May 2020,
Mhm.
right in the middle of the pandemic. Terrible time to graduate. So, I graduated in May and I just hung out in Florida until about August. Like, I was just there, living off my savings, no plan, no real roadmap of what I was going to do because no one knew what was going on, right? Like I had been talking to recruiters and jobs like prior to March, but then things had shifted because of the virus and no one knew how to accommodate that yet. So it was a weird time. So I ended up going back home to Louisville, Kentucky in like August. Stayed there for a while, was applying for jobs, picked up like a retail job while I was applying for jobs,
Mhm.
and I landed a position in Memphis. The position in Memphis was pretty much identical to what I had been doing as a graduate assistant at Florida State and as an intern at the University of Kentucky, but now in a full time capacity. So that was like a perfect segue after
Yeah.
graduating because it was like my skills that I had gotten from internship experiences
Mhm.
were completely transferable.
Sure. No, that makes sense. And how did you, so I'm going to ask a few different questions here that
Okay.
are going to, so with graduate school, how did you go about, what was the funding situation? Like, did you receive like a graduate assistantship or like, what did that look like?
Yeah. So grad school was another one of those things where, maybe I wasn't meant to go to school. Because now that I'm telling these stories, I'm just like, oh my God. But grad school for me, I never planned to go. I come from a family of people with post-secondary degrees, but I was just like, I'm done with school, over it. I'm going to work.
Mhm.
And when I graduated from UK, work was just like it wasn't coming,
Mm,
that post grad life. You don't always have like the perfect transition.
mhm.
So spring semester my senior year, my mom was just like, apply to some grad schools just in case. And I was just like, okay, fine, whatever. And she was like, find some programs that you like. What do you want to do? And I'm like, well, I've already studied PR. Let me study something sports. She's like, okay, find some sports management programs. So I'm just like Googling programs. Florida State at the time had one of the top programs in the country. I'm just like, okay, well, if I'm gonna go to school, I want to go to the best. And
Absolutely.
it's in Florida, and I'm just like, I've always wanted to live in Florida. Why not go live there for 2 years? And they had the cheapest application fee. The application fee was only $25, and I was
Wow.
just like, let me do it. It'll get my mom off my back.
Yeah.
So it'll be fine.
Yeah.
So I applied, and actually one of like the administrators from Florida State called me and were like, oh my gosh, we would love to have you. Your application was so impressive.
Oh, wow.
So I like did a visit and talked to them, and I was a graduate assistant, so I had some money there, but it didn't completely cover my tuition mostly because I was out of state. So that's where my loans came in. But yeah, I was able to find a GA position that contributed to my education.
Okay. And so you went to graduate school. Did you just apply for the position with Memphis? I know you said you had to kind of navigate the whole COVID situation. So you just saw it and applied.
Yeah, and it was like very random. It was like on Indeed.com, like, and I was like, wait, I can do that. So I literally just applied and went through the application process and landed the job.
Okay, and then how do you fast forward to nagging this amazing opportunity with Walt Disney and how did you do that?
How did that happen?
Yes.
So while I was at Memphis, I didn't love it. Like, I didn't love it the way that I had loved it as an intern at UK and at Florida State. And I think there were many factors that contributed to that. So like COVID, we weren't really in the office. I wasn't able to, a lot of my job is forming relationships with my student athletes and the coaching staff. And I wasn't really able to do that because of the COVID restrictions. I was working from home. I was in this foreign land. I've never been to Memphis. I'm like living there, didn't have any friends, didn't know anybody, wasn't able to connect with people at work because we're working from home. And I only saw people for like game days or when we're traveling for work. So it was just like a lot of factors where I was like, I'm not happy. And to be completely candid, the money was not matching the amount of work that I was doing. I was working like 24/7 for, I'm not even going to share the number because it was insulting. But it was just like, I'm not having the quality of life. I'm still young. I was missing major events with my family, with my friends. And I'm just like, for this job, is it worth it? Is any job worth it? And my answer was no. So I walked away from that, and I actually came to stay with my parents. So my parents live in Detroit, Michigan. I came to stay here with them, and I was just like, I'm just going to figure it out from there. So I picked up everything in Memphis, came to Michigan, took a couple of months to just live my life, right? So I traveled. I went and spent time with a bunch of my friends that I had missed out time on with while I was in the role at Memphis, and really just lived in the moment. I had no plan. Well, I did start a business. I started a consulting business. I was working with small businesses with their communications efforts. I was doing that on the side, but that allowed me the flexibility to kind of be wherever I wanted to be. So that's where my traveling came in. I was taking self-care vacations to the beach, solo trips. I was going to spend time with some of my best friends. And I really enjoyed that. I really, really needed that. I did that for a couple months. But in the same time, I was applying for jobs. So I'm like, I know I don't want to work for myself as my primary income forever. So I was still applying for roles, but this time I took a different approach and made sure that I was only applying for things that like I really, really wanted to do, things that I knew would serve me as I tried to find this work-life balance. And so, yeah. One of my mentors, she used to work for Disney, Kimberly Wilson. She's amazing. Google her. But now she's at Sirius XM, and she was just like, Kristen, there's this position available. I would love for you to check it out, check out the description. If you're interested, I can connect you with the VP of that department.
How did you know her?
I've known her forever.
Okay.
Yeah, I've known her since like high school. So backstory on that, my aunt is an executive for a radio station in Chicago. Kim Wilson worked with her there. Once I realized I wanted to do this sports communication thing, she was already at Disney working with ESPN. And so my aunt connected me to her, and we just kind of kept up with each other all throughout my undergraduate and graduate career. And she's like one of my go-tos. I think mentorship is very, very important, just as a side note.
Sure.
Listening, mentorship is very important. Just having that sounding board, someone that you can relate to and go to on a professional level, is an amazing experience.
Okay.
She recommended me for this job. I did an informational interview with the VP and we just really hit it off. So we went through the application process, the interview process, and I landed the gig. And it's been a whirlwind. I'm learning stuff every day. Starting a job virtually is scary. It's different, but I definitely see where this job is serving me more than my last role. As far as having like that work-life balance that I so desperately crave. The money is right, which is important to me. And I see where I'm learning skills that I need or that I think I need in order to progress professionally in the way that I want to.
Okay. So 3 questions about the Memphis role, and then we're gonna move it. But I'm really curious to hear your answers about this. So with the Memphis role, did you negotiate going in? Did you bring your concerns to them during, being unhappy about the money and the workload? And then did you send in a resignation letter to them when you decided that it wasn't? Because I didn't realize that you had moved on from them before you went into your next role. So and if I need to repeat the questions, let me know.
No, you're fine. I think I can give like an overview that'll answer all of that.
Okay.
So going in, let me set the stage. So it's COVID, right?
Yes.
I'm working a retail job making $10 an hour.
Okay.
So, and I'm living in my grandmother's house. And I have 2 degrees, 2 degrees. And this is my life. So when I find a job that matches my skill set, what I went to school for 6 years, and they want me, I'm like, wow. So yes, I did negotiate, but they only gave me like $1,000 more than what was initially offered. I had been told in grad school, like I said, I went to grad school for sport management. So they always told us, don't focus on the money, right? They're like, don't focus on the money, just do a good job, the money will come. Which, fine, I get it, hard work, you work hard, you work your way up, I get it. So yeah, I negotiated. It wasn't a great negotiation, but like I said, I'm working a retail job, making $10 an hour. I'm about to get up through, like I'm going for whatever. Honestly, like super candidly, I'm just like, fine, I'll take it. Like I'm there. This is a springboard. I was like, I'll only be here a couple of years anyway. Like it's fine. So I negotiated. It wasn't a great negotiation, but fine. I didn't bring up the money again while I was in the role because, that's what I signed up for. And I realized that while I was working, it's just like, you signed the paperwork, you saw the salary, you knew what you could do with that.
And in the workload, did you ever, or I know that's probably hard to do when you come into a role.
I didn't. I knew it was a lot of work because I had done it before. But in this role, I was doing the job with like 3 people. I didn't know that when I said, yes, I'm gonna come to Memphis.
Right.
But I was doing the job. There was turnover before I got there. There was a lot of turnover. And I didn't know that. But when they brought me in, it was kind of a situation where like, we have this young girl, she's ready to work, she's ready to grind, and she'll kind of do whatever to make her way in this industry, which I get it. Business is business, right? But had I known that that's how it would have been, I probably wouldn't have gone. I would have waited it out. So yeah, I had no clue about the workload. I had no clue. Okay. But it's fine. It was a great learning experience. I did send a resignation letter. I did go with that protocol. I didn't just up and leave. I didn't do that. I wouldn't have felt right. But I did send a resignation. I had those conversations. I had the conversation with my manager, with the athletics director, just about like my experience and why I was deciding to move on, with hopes that, whoever they bring in next is able to have a better experience. Because another thing is, I don't think I told you this, I was the first Black woman in their communications department. I'm in the middle of Tennessee.
Wait, at Memphis?
At the University of Memphis, I was the first Black woman in their communications department. I worked with all white men. So it was not a culture shock, but I think it was an adjustment for them as much as it was for me.
Sure.
And they were all older, because this is an industry where people stay in their roles for a long time. Like a lot of the people I worked with have been there for 20 plus years. Um, so it was just, there were many, many, many adjustments that we both had to make, because this is a new situation on both ends. And I had those conversations upon my departure too, just of like, as a Black woman, this is kind of how I felt being here. And, I wouldn't want someone else coming in after me to also feel that way. But I also didn't feel like I was supposed to be Harriet Tubman and pave the way for, because I had those conversations with older people in my family of just like, well, no, stick it out. Like, you're doing something great for Black people. And I'm like, that's not my responsibility. I didn't sign up for that.
What were some of the experiences more specifically that felt not good for you, not good to your soul in your experience?
I think, and this is crazy to say, but I think communication was just off in the communications department. It's just like cultural experiences are different. We're from different generations. So, and then we're working virtually, it's a remote environment. So when you're working with people that are older, they may not know that I need constant communication, in order to effectively do my job. And I'm new in this role. There were a lot of just like expectations without them being verbalized. So yeah, it was just like that. I kind of felt isolated. If I'm being completely honest, I felt isolated in my role because I didn't know them, and there wasn't really a space created for me to know them. It was just like, here, do this.
Yeah.
Where I think doing your job is one part of work, but also forming relationships with the people that you're working with is another huge component of it, because you spend so much time working, you have to know the people that you're working with. And that space wasn't provided for me to get to know them. But it was a learning experience. I learned so much. I'm so thankful for that experience looking back on it, because it prepared me moving forward. And I don't think that I would be in the space that I am now had I not had that experience.
Sure. So just to confirm, would you say that there's anything that you could have done or that you would advise students to do to change maybe the experience that you had with your first job at a grad school? Or do you feel like it kind of just was what it was? Or are there specific things that you would say, kind of do this, do that?
When jobs or businesses or companies are interviewing you, you're interviewing them too. And I don't think I approached my interview process as like, I'm also seeing if they're a fit for me. Don't let a company make you feel like we have to see if you work for us, because no, like you're contributing your life, your time, your efforts to this as well. So you have to make sure it's a fit for you. I think had I done the due diligence of making sure that this was the place for me, I wouldn't have been in the situation that I was in. But when you're just graduating, you're hungry, you want that job, you want a job, you're just like, I need something to show for all this school. You kind of find yourself in a little desperation, but don't fall for that. Know your worth, know what you bring to the table, and stand on that.
Yeah. I definitely can, just understand what you mean by that. Just in that, I think a lot of young people, you don't know what you don't know. So I think you do very much go in with this kind of mindset of, unintentionally, but like, I am just thankful to get, I think especially sometimes when, as Black people, you can go in a job just feeling just thankful and blessed and grateful, but it's like, no, you're
it's like, no, they should also be thankful to have you.
right. You're an asset. You are intelligent. You bring a lot, to the organization, and not to even speak about diversity of thought and experience. And so, I think it is sometimes difficult to know how to leverage that, but I think, like I said, mentorship can be good for that. Okay, so kind of winding down here with our interviews. So I have this kind of lightning, kind of who, what, when, where, and why about grad school. You've answered some of the questions already, but again, can you just run through just so people can have like a snapshot of, how do I approach potentially the undergraduate process, but specifically the grad process? So who helped you make the decision to attend graduate school?
Okay, in my personal life, it was definitely my mom. But like on campus, one of my academic advisors. She really wasn't my academic advisor. I kind of made her my academic advisor because I like her insight. but it was her.
Okay. And what was important for the graduate school to have? So what was kind of like that one or two things that was important that the graduate program had that you attended?
I wanted to make sure that they had the connections to set me up for professional success. That like the program was notable. Like, yes, I was getting great book knowledge, but I also wanted to make sure that I was going to be able to network with people who are where I would like to be.
Okay, makes sense. When did you begin planning for graduate school?
Girl, spring semester of senior year. I don't advise anyone to wait that late. Do not wait. Start in the fall. Start in the fall.
Okay. Okay. So did you okay, did you attend right you attended right after you graduated from undergrad that year? Okay. Okay. Yeah, that's cutting it close, Kristen.
Yeah.
Okay. Where did you encounter the most challenges during the graduate school process? Like going through the not necessarily application process, but going through like the actual 2 years.
It was definitely that financial part. Cause like I said, in undergrad, I was used to everything just being handed to me, right? Like my scholarship, I knew what it was covering what. And I was waiting on my refund check every semester. Whereas in grad school, I did have to take up those loans. I had to make sure that everything was covered. So piecing that together in grad school was a new challenge for me during those 2 years.
Okay, okay. And then lastly, why grad school? Why Florida? Why was it worth it?
Um, I think it goes back to what I was saying about undergrad is I was able to grow not only as an intellectual, not only as a professional, but just as a person. I was completely out of my element. So I stayed in state for undergrad, but for grad school, I went out of state. I knew nothing about Tallahassee, to be completely honest. I thought I was moving somewhere like Orlando, and that's not what Tallahassee is. I didn't have any friends. I didn't know the area. So I had to figure all that out. I didn't know the athletic department at UK. The athletic department knew me. They knew what I was capable of. They trusted me with certain things. I had to start over with that in my role. So just those skills of developing as a person in a new environment, I definitely think helped me more than anything I could learn in a book.
Okay, okay. And so that's kind of like the overall of like it definitely was worth it. It helped propel you in your career, helped kind of give you a more solid foundation. Do you think you could have done what you're doing now with just your undergraduate degree? Or do you think it definitely
Um,
helped? Like, do you
I
think
think
you would have
my
gotten the role at like a Walt
yeah,
Disney?
yeah, I think going to grad school helped not because of the degree alone, but because of the experiences that came with the degree. So while I was in grad school, I had very different internship opportunities than I did in undergrad. Like I had an internship with NBC Sports for a summer. I had an internship with a bowl game for a semester. And then I did the things on campus too. I didn't get that in undergrad. So I was able to build on the experiences that I had in undergrad while also obtaining another degree. So I know it's not necessary for a lot of people in my industry. They don't even consider grad school, but I think for me and my personal journey, going to grad school is very important.
Okay, okay. So it's the personal journey and kind of self is really important to kind of know, and again, kind of doing your own like research and investigation to what you
Mhm.
need. Okay, so two kind of final questions for you. So in your survey response that you completed, prior to doing this interview, one of the questions asked was kind of what your thoughts were about this kind of trend of not necessarily needing college to succeed.
Mhm.
And obviously on my YouTube channel, like I have a lot of kind of views about how it's there's a lot of misnomers that are out there, a lot of misinformation about kind of what is, but then there's a lot of things that again we don't know, and there's a lot of opportunity. But you said you said you were here for it with regard to individuals, going out and maybe taking a different path in the traditional education.
Mhm.
Thoughts on that? Talk about that a little bit and what you think people should consider. And if somebody's in high school and they're like, I don't think I'm going to go to college, I'm going to do my own thing. Like, what would you say?
Yeah. I think it comes down to what's important to you. So if making money is important to you, there are so many ways to make money. So many. One of my best friends actually, she's a digital artist, right? We went to undergrad together. We met at UK. She had started grad school program in Atlanta, but then she just started playing on her iPad and found this skill that she liked. And now she's a digital artist. She has big brand deals. She has grown her following on Instagram to over 50K. People, and it's all because of something that she does on her iPad. And she's just like, she was a journalism major in undergrad, you know? And so there are ways to capitalize off of your interests, off of your skills, off of whatever you want without going to college. Now, like I said, I think college is important for soft skills and personal development and just, learning those general things about becoming a young adult. But if your main focus is making money and making it fast and making a lot of it, you don't need school.
So to close us out here, while we don't obviously want to reveal our hand and everything we have planned for the future, right? You want to keep some things close to the vest. What is the goal for Kristen? Like what's the kind of ultimate, where are you hoping to go? Obviously things that you want to share.
Long term?
Yeah, sure. Like career-wise, lifestyle. What does that look like?
Oh, girl, let me tell you.
Okay, you're like, I love this question.
So like my ultimate goal is to be a publicist. So like I said, right now I'm in a PR role with a major corporation. I definitely think I'm learning the skills to be able to venture out into something where I'm maybe working for myself or working for a smaller agency or something like that. But I definitely want to be a publicist for individuals, not necessarily representing a company, but working with people one-on-one. I love that aspect of my job, is just working with people and helping them tell their stories.
Okay.
Personally, I am looking to find balance. I think that's just like something that you're always working on, of finding like time to focus on yourself, but also focus on your goals. And I know that we live in a generation that is all about women empowerment, but I am still very traditional in the sense of like, I want a family, I want a husband, I want to be a mom, so just finding the balance of being able to do all of those things and give my time and energy to all of those things when the time is right. So right now I'm locked in professionally. That's where all of my energy goes. That's where all of my time goes. I spend most of my money on traveling, but I'm 25 now. So I see myself over the next 5 to 10 years working towards a space where I'm able to have a more complete picture for me, which includes a family and work. And I always look at Beyonce as a picture of having it all.
Right.
I would like to get there, but now I am very locked in professionally.
Sure. So can you close us out by sharing how those who are watching can get in contact with you, and whether it's all your social media platforms, your email, whatever you choose to share.
You can keep up with me on Instagram, KTS_2. I have a website, KristenTaylorsmith.com. You can reach out to me there. I'm on Twitter. What is my Twitter handle? I think I'm not on Twitter much, so that is not the best way to contact me. But I am on Twitter, Kristen T. Smith 2. That's me on Twitter. But yeah, Instagram is really where I live my life. If you want to see what's happening there, check me out. And you can always just contact me through my website.
Okay. And then also you're on LinkedIn, right?
Oh, yes, of course I'm on LinkedIn. Yes, on LinkedIn. I love LinkedIn. I use it like it's Instagram. I scroll on LinkedIn all day. So find me there. I love to connect on LinkedIn.
Okay, awesome. And do you have a TikTok? I know that's like a big, people are even now are getting more professional people are getting into professional.
TikTok is where it's at, and I don't have the time. I don't have the editing skill for TikTok, honestly.
I know. It's a lot. Okay, well, thank you so much, Kristen. I really appreciate you, just your time on a Saturday morning. Thank you so much for doing this and sharing just so much of your story.
And I had so much fun.
And I will be watching, in awe, and following you on LinkedIn and on social media, because I just love to see kind of what my peers and everyone's out there in the world doing. I think it's inspirational, and it helps you to keep like, okay, like people are doing it. It can be done. So anyways, thank you so much.
COVID-19 has changed our world and transformed the way we learn, regardless of our age or educational level. Now more than ever, we have access to online education and content. That's why you'll want to partner with me, voiceover artist Kim Wilson for your business training modules, academic institutional e-learning programs, or your at-home e-learning online educational needs. I have a wide-ranging voice which is natural, warm, and soothing, but also rich and commanding. I've had the privilege of working with over 30 companies, including Children Inc., Learning Grove, the Salvation Army, the American Bible Society, Service Employees International Union, SEIU, V-Living, the Minority Business Development Agency, and Cox Automotive, just to name a few. If you have an educationally based project, whether it's voicing online work modules, educational training software, large live events, or educational seminars requiring voiceover, I am here to help meet your specific needs. Whether you represent a nonprofit or a for-profit organization, whether you're in K through 12 or college, undergraduate, or graduate studies, I am the perfect fit for your voiceover needs. If you are an individual or a business seeking to hire for one project or multiple projects, feel free to give me a call at 404-981-1748 or send a business inquiry to kimwilsonthevoice@outlook.com. Again, that's 404-981-1748 or kimwilsonthevoice@outlook.com.